The king has only one daughter. The princess is absolutely beautiful, but because of that she is arrogant and extravagant. No one pleases her. She rejected one person after another. Not only that, but also mocked and mocked them. One time, the king invited men from all over the world to hold a grand banquet to choose his son-in-law. Guests stood in rows according to rank. At the top were the kings of the countries, then the dukes, princes, earls, barons, and finally the nobles. The princess was taken to see her face. No one was spared by the princess, and she had an excuse to mock everyone. She thought he was too fat. She named him Anquat, Ta-Tun Anquat. The one who was too slim, she said, if he was too thin, the wind would blow him away. And the third person was short. She criticized him. Short and fat. He and number 39's very clumsy. The fourth person and number 39's face was pale. She was named pale as if drowned. The fifth person and number 39's face was as red as gack. She called red dong dong. The sixth person stood with a slightly bent posture. She called it a curvy kiln-dried sapling. Looking at she always tried to mock everyone. She was delighted when she saw a person with a chin slightly curved like a warbler and number 39's beak. She jokingly said, "Well, he has a chin like a warbler and number 39's beak. From then on, go to that kind king whose name is the Warbler King." Seeing that his son only mocked, rejected and criticized everyone present at the wedding ceremony, the king became angry and decreed that if any beggar passed by the king and number 39's palace, the king would marry him. God for that person. A few days later, a busker passed by, stood under the window and sang, hoping to be rewarded with a few coins. Hearing that, the king ordered, "Call the troubadour to the palace." With torn, dirty clothes, the troubadour went into the king and number 39's palace, sang for the king and princess, and then asked for a reward. The king said, "I really like your singing, so I married my daughter to you." The princess was scared, but the king still said, "I swore that I would marry you to the first beggar who passed by the king and number 39's palace. I wanted to keep that oath. All begging is of no use." The priest was immediately invited to marry the princess to the troubadour. After the wedding ceremony, the king said, according to custom, a minstrel and number 39's wife cannot stay long in the king and number 39's palace. Now you must follow your husband out of the palace. The troubadour held her hand and they both walked out of the king and number 39's palace. She had to follow her husband on foot. Coming to a large forest, she asks, "Well, whose beautiful forest belongs to this?" "The king and number 39's forest." She married that person, that forest was hers. "I am a poor, gentle girl. I should have married the king." A while later they arrived at a steppe. The princess asks again, "Whose beautiful green steppe is it?" "The steppe of the king Warbler." She married that person, her steppe. "I am a poor, gentle girl. I should have married the king." Then they arrived at a big city, and the princess asks again, "Whose is this beautiful city?" "The beautiful city of the king of warblers." She married that person, that city was hers. "I am a poor, gentle girl. I should have married the king." The troubadour said, "I and number 39's am not satisfied at all. Why do you always want another husband? Am I not worthy?" Finally they arrived in front of a tiny hut. The princess exclaimed, "Oh my God, What kind of house is this damp? Whose house is so small and pathetic? The troubadour replied, Your house, her house where you and I live together. The princess had to bend down to get through the low door. The princess asks, Where is your servant? The troubadour replied, Which servant? Whatever you want to do, do it yourself. Now go ahead and cook. I and number 39 am very tired. But the princess didn't and hash 39 know how to light a stove or cook, so the busker had to step in and get the job done. The meal was so frugal that after eating, both of them fell asleep tiredly. The next day, at dawn, the husband woke his wife up to do housework. Just like that, they lived together for a few days before their food reserves ran out. The husband said to his wife, Honey, just sitting and eating without earning anything like this one and number 39 last long. Maybe I and number 39 weave baskets to sell. The husband went into the forest to get bamboo, and the wife split it into pieces to weave baskets. But her soft hand was bleeding from the sharp edge of the bamboo door. Husband said, That and number 39 not possible. Maybe weaving is more suitable for you. She sat down to practice spinning, but then her soft fingers were cut by the thread, and blood flowed to the floor. The husband said, You see, you can and number 39 do anything. Living with you is really miserable. Now we probably have to turn to selling pots and dishes. I sit at the market and sell goods. She thought to herself, if people from our country came here to buy and sell, if they saw me sitting in the market selling goods, they would surely scoff and mock me. It was unavoidable, so she had to do it, otherwise she would definitely starve to death. At first everything was good, seeing the gentle and lovely seller. There were many customers. They paid for the goods without haggling. Some even paid but did not take the goods. With the profits from sales, the couple lives comfortably. One time the goods were sold out, the husband took new goods for his wife to sell at the market. While she was sitting looking at the goods, a knight from afar rode his horse straight into the market, causing her pile of crockery to break into thousands of large and small pieces scattered all over the market. She sat holding her face and sobbing, not knowing what life would turn out to be like. She cried, God, I and number 39 am so miserable. How can I have the face to look at my husband anymore? Returning home, she told her husband about the unfortunate story. After hearing the story, her husband said, Who would have been like that in their childhood, selling crockery and sitting right at the front of the market where people pass by? Why would they cry? I see you did nothing from beginning to end. Just now I went to the king and number 39's palace to ask if the kitchen needed a helper. They promised to take me in and feed me. Now the princess is an assistant cook, no matter what she has to do. On both sides of her apron, she tied 2 small pots. She put her rice in them and brought them home for the couple to eat together. That time, the king and number 39's palace was holding a wedding for the king and number 39's firstborn son. Out of curiosity, the kitchen assistant also crept in and stood in front of the entrance. When the lights were lit one by one, the splendid beauty of the king and number 39's palace appeared. Guests one by one entered the banquet room. The scene as well as the people looked so glorious and magnificent. Everyone who saw it was delighted. At this time, the kitchen assistant felt sad for her fate, secretly blaming her arrogance. and extravagance, because those qualities made her as vile and miserable as she is now. Servants and servants came and went in and out, bringing guests a mountain of delicious dishes and mouth-watering aromas. Occasionally the servants would throw some leftover food to her, and she bent down to pick it up and put it in the pot. Suddenly the prince walked in, covered in silk and jewels, wearing a gold necklace around his neck. Seeing the beauty standing by the door, the prince held her hand, wanting to dance with her, but she was afraid and pulled his hand back. She realized that it was the king of Warblers, the man who once wanted to be his son-in-law and was ridiculed and rejected by her. She tried to pull her hand back, but to no avail. He still pulled her into the middle of the room, causing the rope tying the pot to break, the two pots falling to the ground, soup and bread spilling all over the floor. The guests and bystanders who saw that scene all burst into laughter and jeers. So embarrassed, she wished she would apparate down 1,000 fathoms deep. She yanked her hand out of the king and number 39's hand and rushed straight to the door to escape, but just as she reached the stairs, she was pulled back by a man. When she regained her composure, she saw that that person was the king of the Warblers. "Cho," he happily whispered into her ear, "Don and number 39. Be afraid, the busker living with you in the shabby hut is me. Because I love you, I pretended to be a busker. You are also the knight who let your horse run and break all my crockery. All of these things are just to correct your arrogance and to punish your wildness that likes to mock others." At that moment she burst into tears and said, "I have done wrong things. I am not worthy of being your wife." He replied, "Don and number 39. Be sad any more, the bitter days are over, now let and number 39's get married." She went in to change clothes, and the entire court was present, congratulating the princess on her marriage to the king. The real joy also starts from here. I believe, you and I were both present at the wedding ceremony. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.